All right, everybody. Welcome back. Can you hear me? I hope you can all hear me. I can hear myself. 1 second. My beer has exploded. As happens. Let's hope the beer stops exploding. Come on, beer. Stop exploding. Come on. Can you all hear me? Can somebody put in the chat that you can hear me while I get my beer situation under control? Oh, come on, beer. It's frozen and exploding at the same time. So it means there's not much to drink, but it keeps exploding out. Gotta love summer. Okay, let's get started. Let me welcome back to Archaeology with Flint Dibble. We are here to celebrate some awesome stuff is what we're here to celebrate. Let's make sure we get this all set up well. And where's my PowerPoint? My PowerPoint is right here. It is. Yes, I have it together. We are here to celebrate Big Archaeology. Oh, come on. Why are you doing this? There we go. All right. Today we crossed 69,000 subscribers. Oh, the beer keeps exploding. Come on, beer. All right, that should do it. So yeah, we had 69,969 subscribers at some point today. I think we'll actually probably cross 70,000 overnight, which is pretty awesome. I cannot believe that I'm still in this YouTube game at all. I never would have predicted that I would have so many people watching me. I think that that's insane. I reach more people. Yeah, I'll do another Big Archaeology when we hit 420K. Let's get to 420, baby. But I never would have imagined when I started doing this that so many people would be tuning in. I find it absolutely flattering and amazing. And of course, we only have like 69 people here actually live. Yeah, well, someone says, why wait until 70? Because 69 is a cool number. I do these when we cross different milestones. And, so like I can choose whatever milestones I want. I'm also about to go on a trip for a few weeks, so I'll probably miss 70K. And there's even a chance I'll miss 75K. I don't know. I'll try to do another live stream on my trip if I can, but it'll be about where I'm at rather than about Big Archaeology, which is the milestones for the channel. So we have a few fun things lined up for today's stream, especially if my beer stops exploding. It's mostly frozen, but it still explodes, even though I can't like drink anything. There we go. I think I got all the liquid out. So we'll wait for the rest of it to melt, and then I will continue drinking beer. Okay, so yeah, this is what we're celebrating. And I'm also celebrating the fact that just last Thursday, I found out that the cancer treatment I'm on seems to be working like fucking awesomely. As you probably know, you might not know, I don't know, I have stage 4 melanoma. I got the news a few months ago that it kind of has spread fucking everywhere, though thankfully it's very small everywhere. But what that means is if it was about 10 years ago, I'd probably be dying any day. But since we have much better medicine now, it turns out that things are doing better. And in fact, I'd say at this point in the last few months of treatment, most of my cancer has disappeared. There's still some left. It's still stage 4. It's still very risky. We still need to see what happens with future treatment. But either way, I've already started creating a video about how science is biohacking my cancer. I expect to have my doctors will be taking part with interviews. I'm going to have other friends that are doctors taking part with interviews. It's actually been quite a journey. The medicine that is saving my life, I'm actually deathly allergic to it. So they not only does the medicine biohack my immune system in order to kill the cancer, they have biohacked my immune system so that I can tolerate a medicine that I'm deathly allergic to. I almost died. I had to go to the ER the next day with this deathly allergy. It was quite an experience. As you could probably fucking imagine, it fucking sucked. But they solved it. It's like a 1 in a million allergy, and my team absolutely is phenomenal here in Cardiff. I have nothing but thank you for the NHS. And I have to say that it's been quite an experience, but I have a top-notch team of scientists and doctors working with me. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit. You all know that I like to debunk pseudoscience and misinformation that exists on the internet. Just today, I got a comment from a subscriber. I think these comments were meant well. I want to make that clear. But at the same time, they're promoting bad ideas for me. So, for example, one subscriber today, I think it was, said, "I'm so glad to hear your treatments are helping. If you're interested, you might want to check out turkey tail mushrooms and the ketogenic diet and their effects on cancer. You probably know all about it, but just in case, wishing you the very best." Or just 2 weeks ago, I had a conversation with Matt Bial, who runs a podcast mostly about pseudo-archaeology, and he collects Egyptian vases, which might not be legitimate. I don't want to get into that right now. I'll make a video about Egyptian vases in the future. But either way, they're probably forgeries or from the black market and looted. So I strongly oppose Matt Bial, but we had a nice conversation after the Cosmic Summit video that I did. And he invited me on his podcast to have a debate. And I said, maybe once the cancer's gone. And then he said, "Flint Dibble sounds good. My best wishes for a speedy recovery. I'm sure you know this, but sugar and alcohol feeds cancer cells. Fasting is incredibly beneficial during cancer treatment. Good luck to you. We can connect after your full recovery." Well, I'm going to drink a beer to that. And then I will show you the research that I do, because I do research not by following internet rumors, but by looking at actual legitimate scientific articles. And I think that that's the way to go. So they're talking about the ketogenic diet, which is where you cut down your carbs and your sugar, your alcohol, that kind of stuff, and you up your intake of fat and protein. And it turns out that for my specific cancer, if I was to do that, it would be really fucking bad for me. Like really bad. It would cause the cancer to grow even faster, because in melanoma, specifically with a specific form of mutation called BRAF V600E, which, by the way, my cancer has that specific mutation. Well, it turns out that high-fat diets in either solid or paste forms resulted in increased growth rates, masses, and sizes of tumors without affecting body weight in mice, with those that have BRAF V600E expressing human melanoma cell xenografts. So what that means is this internet rumor, which I've probably gotten a dozen or so comments on this. Avoid sugar, avoid carbs, eat lots of fat and protein. This is the rumor that's on the internet. And look, I get why this rumor exists. I've had a PET scan. So cancer is very, very hungry for carbohydrates, which sugars break down to carbohydrates, alcohol breaks down to carbohydrates. And so that is actually how a PET scan works. It injects you with radioactive glucose, and since cancer absorbs it faster and eats more than your cells do, it absorbs more of that radioactive glucose and it highlights on a PET scan. And so there is some logic to this. And so this does work for some cancers. At least that's what preliminary research shows. But the problem is doctors don't understand the link between specific types of cancers just yet and different diets. And so giving this kind of advice on the internet is just simply not a really good idea because it spreads misinformation and it could cause harm to somebody because there's studies, for example, that show that my specific type of cancer with the very specific type of mutation that it has, this kind of diet would actually hurt me. And I've talked to my doctors about it. Yes, I have talked to my doctors about diets and I have looked up the fucking research in actual articles. And so I will follow the advice of my doctors who understand the details of my specific cancer over the advice of random people on the internet. And I recommend that everybody do that if you actually have cancer or something like that. I would not follow advice from the internet. I would follow advice from professionals and experts who understand the specific mutations that your cancer has, the specific types of cancer that you have, and all these kind of things. Yeah, Russell, I've had a PET scan. I had a PET scan a couple of years ago, and I'll have another one not too far down the road, according to what my doctor said. But yeah, so they are rough. I agree. But all my point here is, look, I like to debunk pseudoscience, and this kind of pseudoscience matters. Giving random advice that you think is useful for all cancers is oftentimes not going to be the case. And so, wait, Pablo. Oh, I see. You're telling Sabine that E is gone. Okay, that's fine. Sabina is not a troll, though. So just want to make sure you don't kick out Sabina. Sabina's been around for a while and is a very polite person. So yeah, so look, I'm making a video about how science has biohacked my cancer in an effort to make this point. It'll probably take a good 4 more months or so, 3 to 4 months to produce this video. We want to make something high quality that will promote legitimate science and not sort of random rumors on the internet, and to try to point out why medical science is so advanced today. It's really quite amazing. My diagnosis 5 to 10 years ago would have meant death, like very quickly too. Like I said, within 4 to 7 months would have been my prognosis. And instead, I am having a treatment that I don't know yet if it's going to cure me, but it certainly bought me many years of good living, where I can continue drinking some beer and eating some good food, enjoying time with my friends, and doing some fun things like YouTubing, right? So, okay, on to some archaeology. I think this is important though, because pseudoscience is part and parcel even of pseudo-archaeology and stuff like that. And yes, I'll be having my own doctors on as well. I've already done some recording with several of my nurses and stuff, and my 2 different oncologists that are the major components of my team have agreed. I'm hoping my radiotherapist will also agree to do it. And I've talked with other doctors around the world. Even I have several of them that are interested in coming on to talk about this for this video that we're going to be producing. So since we have 69,969 followers, I tracked down the earliest representation of 69. So this is the earliest representation of 69. This is, well, I think you can see what it is. This is, I've taken out the genitalia so that YouTube doesn't censor me. But this is the earliest example of a couple 69ing. It's on a terracotta lamp from Rome. It's now in the Staatliche Antiken Sammlungen in Munich, so the ancient art museum in Munich. And this plate comes from the publication from Die Erotik der Antike in Kleinkunst und Keramik. So erotic art in what's Kleinkunst? In white art and ceramics. So sculpture and ceramics and stuff like that. So I thought that was fun since we're celebrating 69 today. This is the earliest fucking representation of people fucking with the 69 pose. So enjoy it. There's many more out there in Roman art and later art and Indian art and elsewhere around the world. But this, as far as I could tell, at least according to Wikipedia, I had to do a bunch of research to find the image, but at least according to Wikipedia, this is the earliest representation that exists. I have no reason not to trust Wikipedia, but it's possible that, of course, there might be an earlier one. So, yes, Pablo, I agree. Make 69 great again. Let's do it. So, what do we have for today? Today I want to emphasize that this episode has been brought to you by channel patrons and members. We have also crossed a milestone on channel supporters. I now have about 200. We crossed 200 channel supporters, either via YouTube membership or Patreon patronage. And I think that that's really, really cool. Look, I would not be able to do this, A, if all of you were not watching, and B, without the support that many of you give me. The support that you give me and the eyeballs that you lend and the sharing that you do is why I do this. If I was talking to an empty room, if I did not expect at least a few thousand people to watch this and at least have some income coming in to help afford things like my brand new microphone, we need to buy a brand new video editing computer because our old one is starting to die. And we have all these expenses to be able to produce a YouTube channel. And at the same time, I'm starting to travel and I'm starting to try to do some more in-person type stuff, like with my doctors. And so doing these kind of things costs money. It takes time. And it's very, very important. And I'm sorry, Dust King, for your daughter, but my channel is mostly made for adults. It's not that I think that all of my videos are for adults, but I certainly swear quite frequently. And I have not shied away from showing sexual scenes like at the very introduction to my Joe Rogan episode. So, and I definitely, like I said, swear, and I have videos on drugs and narcotics. So I am here for an adult audience. If you want to have your children watch, I personally think there's nothing wrong with older children potentially being exposed to some of this, but maybe it's not for younger children. So one of the perks, there are many. Oh, I wanted to highlight, look, so I've now created some new emojis for my channel members. YouTube lets you do that. I will post a few of them in the chat right now. So for example, if you are a channel member and you post : hat : you can make a nice hat, or maybe a Dibble mask, because there are Dibble masks out there. Or what else did I make? There's several of them. Hand axe. So there's all sorts of fun little emojis that you can now play with if you are a channel member. If you're a patron, I generally prefer patrons rather than channel members, because YouTube takes a reasonably large cut out of it, much more than Patreon does. So for patrons, I'm going to start writing more blog posts about my life and about what I'm doing, and some various sort of casual plans of what's going on to reward patrons more extensively. It's also where, if you're on the higher levels of patronage, I'll be also publishing some drafts from my book and some forthcoming articles so that you can see what's going on. So we're trying to level up here and make these kind of perks more reward worthy, because like I said, your support is what keeps this channel moving forward. But a perk that is available for both patrons and members is you get the chance to ask questions in advance. And so I'll tell you people that I'm doing a live stream, and I'll get questions in advance on this. And so, for example, these two questions came in for today. Do I know any quality historical fiction, preferably in the ancient world, but not limited to it? Something like Patrick O'Brien or Colleen McCullough. There's a lot of really good ones. Let me just do a quick Google, see what pops up. So we have popular ancient historical fiction books. So for classics, Robert Graves' I, Claudius, and Mary Renaud. Those are kind of like the classic ones. Madeline Miller is a phenomenal, more contemporary author who writes set in the ancient world, usually mythical type stuff. Who else? On that note, I'm hoping to have on Emily Hauser. We've been in contact. She's written some books set in the sort of Trojan Wars type world. Who else? Emma Southen. She writes, let me find her. She writes murder mysteries. set in ancient Rome, and they're really cool. I'd love to have her on at some point, because she's really really cool, and she, just like Emily, she also has a PhD, for example. Um, who else? Natalie Haynes writes really good fiction, set in the ancient world, and she does comedy routines and things like that. I'm actually hoping I wrote while doing my PhD a novel about the Odyssey. And given that the Odyssey, there's a new Odyssey coming out, I'm thinking about self-publishing this novel. It's a comedy set in the Bronze Age, and it's kind of funny. It's not rated PG. Let's put it that way. That's not how I am. So it's not rated PG. It's certainly an R-rated novel. It's fun. It's funny. My dad read it. He loved it. So have several of my friends. And I've been meaning to self-publish it. And so thank you, Dust King and Burton GFX. No, the Atlantis book is not satire. The Atlantis book is actually a nonfiction book about the archaeology around the Atlantis story and sort of the risks and dangers of pseudoscience in our world today. That's very much meant for a popular audience. And it should I should have a draft done by the end of the year, and it should come out sometime late next year, probably. Thank you, Burton GFX. I really appreciate it. But tell me in the chat if people are interested. I might consider self-publishing my Odyssey book more soon. It is a novel. It is fiction. It's historical fiction. It's a comedy, and it's got my style to it. I wrote it while finishing up my PhD and doing a postdoc. It's been done actually for several years. I just don't know where to publish a novel, so I think I'd have to self-publish it. It's just sort of how I am. I'm not a novelist, but I wouldn't sell it for very expensive, probably an ebook for a few bucks. So if you'd be interested in spending a few bucks on like an Odyssey novel, so it's the story of Odysseus when he returns to Ithaca, and a comedy type stuff, put it in the chat. I'd consider it. Okinus, on the, speaking of books and stuff like that, I have a commercial publisher for the Atlantis book, at least for the UK. We're still looking for one for the US, and my agent is very confident that we will find one. So I'm not too worried about that. Why is my... There we go. That's my style. So yeah, so it will be, I can't imagine it'll be super expensive when it comes out, but I'll know, and I'll obviously advertise it with stuff like that. Okay, so there is some interest in me self-publishing this Odyssey novel. So let me think on that. I need to figure out, I wrote it around images of archaeological artifacts, so I need to figure out about permissions and things like that. So there's some things that, or maybe I just give up on those images and don't include them. I need to think about it. But it would be an ebook, probably a loan, maybe a print to on demand paperback is another option. But I'd try to make it an affordable ebook. So let me think about that one, and it would probably be self-published, just because the agent that I have, he represents nonfiction. I do not know how to get a fiction agent to be able to publish fiction effectively, so I think just self-publishing is probably the way to go. Oh, my beer's starting to melt. Excellent. Tastes good. Okay. So yeah, so that was the first question we got from Patreon, was about historical fiction. Like I said, Madeline Miller, Natalie Haynes, Emily Hauser, Emma Southen. They're some of my favorites out there. They all do a great job. Have I thought about podcast form? Maybe from time to time you can listen without watching some of your episodes, but you are often describing or discussing something on screen, and I usually listen in public transport or running. This is a good question. I do want to highlight that I've started uploading all of my material to Spotify. So if you're interested in watching even the live streams when I'm done, this one will be available on Spotify, for example. So you can absolutely go and check out all of my videos and live streams on Spotify. So I encourage people to do that. People are saying audiobooks for the book. That's tough. Let me think about it. That takes some time, a serious time commitment. I think eventually, maybe if enough of the copies of the ebook sold, then I consider doing an audiobook. So yeah. Let's see. I'm not going to publish the Odyssey book as a hardback, though the Atlantis book will first come out as a hardback and an ebook, and then eventually a year later as a paperback. But just to keep on this audio trend, yes, you can now check out all my stuff on Spotify. I encourage people, if you prefer to just listen rather than listen and watch, feel free to go check out stuff on Spotify if that's a platform that you prefer. I'm growing there slowly. I've only have the last few months worth of stuff, and I'm trying to upload intermittently older videos and stuff like that. It's also a video podcast on Spotify, by the way, because as this question noted, I'm often talking about stuff on the screen. I'm not going to stop doing that. I want to make sure archaeology is very visual. And so I have to continue showing material that is important, because what else are we supposed to do besides talking about artifacts and monuments? It is to some degree visual. So I will continue referring to visuals from Fresno. There's no way for me not to do that. It's just the archaeology is a visual subject. How do I describe material and art? I have to be able to show it and describe it. And if you prefer not to watch, that's fine. Listen to it, whether on YouTube or Spotify. And he might have been asking me not to refer to the visuals, but at the same time, I've found that a lot of people have thanked me for moving over to Spotify because it's more easily available offline. While YouTube, I think you need YouTube Premium to listen to material offline. And so therefore there's more availability for people to just download it, go for a jog, go to the gym, go on public transit where you might not have access to good internet, and then you can actually listen to it while you're doing whatever you're doing. So yeah, let's see. So that's my plug. If you're interested, join my Patreon or my YouTube membership. You really are part of what supports this channel. If I'm not able to make the time worthwhile, and to be honest, we probably at this rate are making something like $4 an hour. The amount of effort that me and my partner Yoni are putting in is something like that. It's really not worth our time, but we have been growing very steadily. So I just want to highlight, like, this is important because it's a lot of time to actually even put together these kind of live streams or these kind of videos and stuff like that. Yeah, JP, shoot me an email if you're interested in narrating that Odyssey book. I'd be interested in potentially having you do that, or maybe we take different characters or something like that. I could see that also working quite well. Maybe Yoni would be interested in narrating Penelope's part, for example, and Euryklea's, so that we have a female voice for the female characters. Because there's a lot of dialogue in it. I try to write with a lot of dialogue in how I did that. Okay, so let's stop plugging this episode commercial for my own patrons and members. I want to thank you all. You're all awesome. Let's move on to what's going on today. What I want to do is I want to introduce something new that is coming to this channel starting at the end of the month. Probably not in 2 weeks because I'm going on a trip. But probably in 3 weeks from today, I'm hoping that most Sundays at the same time, so 7 p.m. UK, 2 p.m. Eastern in the US, I intend to be doing a weekly stream called Old News with Flint Dibble. So that is my plan here. I have a theme to it, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And today is kind of episode 0, where for the next 20 to 30 minutes, I'm going to introduce some of these themes and how I hope some of it will go. We still have to create some of the production graphics and visuals and stuff like that. That's why this is episode 0. You are all here just to get a taste of what I hope we can do. And the idea here is to try to talk about more current events in the field of archaeology and history, as well as in the fields of pseudo-archaeology and pseudo-history, and to try to sort of wrap through some of the events of the last week in the news, in the media, and on social media, and on YouTube and stuff like that. So that's kind of the goal here. And to do it in a funny way, maybe occasionally to get some guests on for short segments, and to keep it short and snippy, unlike my normal live streams where we dive into one topic for an hour or even 2 hours, sometimes up to 3 hours. With this, we'll be jumping from topic to topic and trying to keep them short and snippy is the goal. So to try to stay organized, I have a few thematic sections. And after you see some of them, I hope that you can think through maybe some suggestions for additional thematic sections, because I think the goal would be to have about a rotating group of 12 different thematic sections and then select 3 or 4 for each episode. That'll keep it fresh and fun and interesting. So, for example, one thematic section is flan, fake lying archaeology news. And so this would be something where I choose one pseudo-archaeology YouTube video or social media thing or pseudo-archaeology in the actual media and sort of summarize what's going on. So what I picked was last week, Graham Hancock published Göbekli Tepe and Why It Matters. And I actually found this kind of ironic because I am mentioned throughout this video. And I thought that was kind of funny that that Graham Hancock mentioned me throughout this video because, you know what? On April 24th, he said, "You won't be seeing much more on this page about Flint Dibble. I'm done with the guy." That's what he said on April 24th. And yet he published a video where he talks about me and where his buddies, Jimmy Corsetti and Mike Collins, talk about me. So let's check out what they have to say about me right now. So we can just go through the transcript and we can walk through some of the other fake lying archaeology news in this fucking talk. So let's see. Let's start right here. It's all about Göbekli Tepe, right? And Karahan Tepe. Can we hear this? So, did you all hear that? Can everybody hear the audio of this video? I'm hoping so. I'm expecting so. I think I shared the audio from it. So, he claims that I somehow approached Narekmi Karul, the director of. Oh, there's no audio from the clip. Are you serious? God damn it! All right, 1 second. Let me redo this. No, I don't want that. Sorry, 1 second. We can do this. We can do this. Oh, come on. Why are you not letting me do that? You better let me share this audio. That did not work. That's what's wrong. Something's wrong with my audio here. Let's see what's wrong. I have to fix if it keeps. No, stop. All right. Everybody be calm. Everybody be calm. Oh, I have an idea. Oh, come on, you stupid thing. Come on, you stupid thing. Man, okay, wait. I think this is due to my new mic and how it's set up. Let me try something. Okay, let's see if this works. I have a plan. I have a plan. I have a plan. Oh, it really won't let me. Okay. It looks like my new mic setup is screwing with sharing audio in this stuff. Somebody says press Alt F4. I can try that, but it's an issue in Restream. So I don't think it's going to let me, is what my guess is. We can try one more time. All right. Well, fuck that. I guess we're not going to do that. Let We're not going to show this one thing. The rest of the stuff doesn't rely on audio. But in a sense, what he said, he accused me of getting in touch with Narekmi Karul. And I have never gotten in touch with Narekmi Karul about Göbekli Tepe or about Graham Hancock. I hope to go visit Göbekli Tepe at some point. I'd actually love to get in touch with Narekmi Karul to interview him about his research, but I have never been in touch with Narekmi Karul about somebody says don't do Alt F4. Somebody's trying to prank me, Tom. Thank you, Tom. I didn't press it anyway. I knew it wasn't going to do anything. I don't know what it does, but it certainly is not going to actually do anything. But I've never gotten in touch with fucking Narekmi Karul about Graham Hancock. There's no reason to. Maybe Narekmi Karul just did not like what Graham Hancock had to say and how he was clipped on Ancient Apocalypse. I think that makes a lot more sense than me actually getting in touch with the guy. But, whatever. Let's find one more reference to me in here. So here we go. This is Jimmy Corsetti saying that he's talking about the trees planted over the ruins at Göbekli Tepe, and he's saying that they're complaining about it, and archaeologists are supposed to be doing the living, and Jimmy Corsetti's saying he's doing the job here. And Flint Dibble has several tweets from me supporting and praising the trees, stating that it's going to preserve the soil and preserve the ruins. And I'm like, these ruins have been buried for 11,600 years and have just been fine. Jimmy Corsetti, you're an idiot. You go to Göbekli Tepe and you talk about how ruined these things look because they're fucking ruins from 11,600 years ago. Man, you're a fucking idiot. You also have these tweets about me. Man, dude. All right, let's go look at these tweets. There's a whole fucking Reddit thing where it's called Justice for Flint Dibble. And this is about, Pablo, Narekmi Karul is in charge of the excavations at Göbekli Tepe. There's this whole Reddit thing about Jimmy Corsetti's tweet about me that he screenshots me. Check out this Reddit post. And let's look through the receipts here. So it's complaining that Joe Rogan reposted Jimmy Corsetti. This was back in like March or something. And Joe Rogan says, me, June 2024. Notice the dates. This is important. June 2024. Tree roots at Göbekli Tepe will damage ancient ruins beneath them. Flint Dibble. Archaeologist Flint Dibble, June 2024. Planting trees over sites is super common. They reduce erosion. They're fine. Göbekli Tepe, February 2025. The tree roots began to damage the remains beneath the surface. So let's look at what I actually said in June of 2024. Because we have this person, Desert Mermaid 92, tracked down all my tweets from this thread. Here's what I said on June 14th, 2024. Trees can both help and hurt archaeological sites, including, yes, olive trees. It depends on very specific context: burial depth, erosion, nature of archaeology, soil, tree, moisture, etc. Shameless plug, I've actually published on this topic in a peer-reviewed article. But, why would Jimmy Corsetti take the time to read all my tweets? Then I said planting trees over sites is super common. Trees, same date, June 14th, 2024. Trees limit erosion and keep archaeology buried. Very important, which they do. Trees provide shade and a pleasant environment for both archaeologists and tourists. As long as some forethought is made into the potential damage of roots, they're fine. So it depends on the context. In some contexts, trees are actually quite good for archaeological sites. They provide shade, they limit erosion. In other contexts, the roots damage the shit out of trees. As I noted here, for example, the trees can actually be pretty bad for archaeological sites. The roots get deep and destroy all kinds of things. I have a whole article on this. Let me actually pull up this article. Why not? I have a whole article. I have photos in my article of trees damaging roots. This is actually my very first article that I ever published. As a grad student, I published this article. It was in the Encyclopedia of Global Archaeology. I published it with a former professor of mine, Professor Alan Sullivan, who's now retired. It's about site formation processes. What kind of activity disturbs archaeological sites and how? I've taken, this is a photo by my partner, Yonita. of different sort of later activity. But if you scroll down, look, modern illegal woodcutting has altered the surface archaeology of prehistoric fire-cracked rock piles. So woodcutting is not so good. Or let's go down. A log cabin, perhaps affiliated with Navajo households impacted. Large fire-cracked rock pile that has been affected by tree growth, or exposed and eroding root ball of a wind-blown tree. Note the wide variety of rock sizes in contrast. Destruction caused by a wind-blown tree whose roots have penetrated a prehistoric structure. I've published in peer-reviewed context on the damage caused by tree roots to archaeological sites. I am no stranger to this phenomenon, and Jimmy Corsetti simply saying, Flint Dibble, planting trees over sites is super common. They reduce erosion. They're fine, from June 2024, ignores the other tweets in this thread where I linked to that article where I discuss both the damages that tree roots can do and the positive benefits of tree roots, depending on the context and the management of the site. All this dude does is lie about me. This is why this is fake, lying archaeological news. This is what we're talking about. This is a flan. And this is me being very purposefully misrepresented right here. And so, you know what? Like, kiss my ass, Jimmy Corsetti. Graham Hancock, you're the one that said you wouldn't talk about me anymore, and then published a video with 7 different mentions criticizing me and lying about me throughout. Throughout this video, they lie about me and they discuss me and they bitch about me because these guys are just bitchy, weak little men. Just weak little fucking bitchy men. Fuck off, Graham Hancock. Fuck off, Jimmy Corsetti. I don't really know who you are, Mike Collins, but fuck off too. You're a loser. Okay, we're done with that segment. Fake lying archaeology news, fucking done. All right, on to the next section. Wait, I thought I had I forgot to put the screenshot in here. That's okay. I have the article up. What confused archaeologists the most recently? So, where did that article go? What should have been there is this screenshot. Runes found in the Canadian wilderness baffle archaeologists. By the way, Burton GFX, thank you again. You are amazing. So yeah, runes found in Canadian wilderness baffle archaeologists. Why was it carved here? Why this text? There are no answers. Oh my God, archaeologists are confused. We are so fucking confused that we're baffled. It's like, man, we are baffled and perplexed. This is what the media has. So this segment is about how the media portrays us as baffled, but in fact, we're not baffled. So there's a better article on this specific Lord's Prayer right here in Archaeo News. And I'm going to pop this one in the link. Link about the Lord's Prayer in Canada. So this is a good one. What this actually explains is that archaeologists have been studying this inscription for several years. I think it was since 2018. Yeah, since 2018. He's been studying the carving since 2018, but chose to keep this under wraps until they could understand the origins of this. Because it's important to understand what we're talking about before we publish stuff like this, because it can become misconstrued in the media. If archaeologists have not properly studied it, then this could be evidence, for example, maybe of very early Vikings in the depths of Canada. That would be fucking cool, wouldn't it? If we're talking about like Leif Erikson leaving these ruins in central Canada, that would be fucking awesome. It even has a picture of a boat and it's Scandinavian ruins. Well, turns out after a bunch of intensive study of the site, the study of the language, the study of the carving, they got an internationally renowned runologist, Dr. Henrik Williams from Uppsala University in Sweden. Lovely university. I've collaborated. I've given a talk there. I really appreciate all the scholars at Uppsala. I have several good friends there. I don't know this one, though. I've never met Dr. Henrik Williams. At least I don't think I did when I was there in 2018 or 17. But it turns out that this represents the type of Swedish language carved using a system developed only in the early 1600s. and it began being used in Sweden in the 16th century, but it turns out that this was only carved in the 1800s. So we're not confused and perplexed at all. This was a fairly recent thing, and in fact, what they do is they link it to a Scandinavian Swedish workers working for the Hudson's Bay Company in this specific region, including the Michipicoten Post, not far from the discovery site. So we have historical documentation of Swedish people living right there. We have the type of script that could only have been developed from the 1600s onwards. So this is clearly not evidence of early Vikings, and very clearly, archaeologists and runologists are not perplexed by this in terms of these kinds of questions. They actually know a hell of a lot about it. They presented it in a ton of detail with phenomenal photos. Here's the boat, by the way, carrying 16 people. And so it obviously still has some mystery, okay, but it's not exactly like we're baffled. We're not fucking baffled in the least. We have a pretty cool idea of what is going on with this material. We know when it was carved and we know who carved it. And so it's actually really fucking cool. And it's an exact example of how archaeologists spend, what, 2018 they started studying this? So they spent 7 years studying this material diligently with a team of experts that focus on different expertises and have different experiences and put it all together. So it's actually fucking cool. It's actually really cool. Somebody says it's Elder Futhark. I actually think it's the younger Futhark. Let's see. Yeah, so it's from the Futhark alphabet. It doesn't say, but it does say that it was developed in the 1600s and that it seems to be, so it says a runic system developed by Johannes Burius in the early 1600s, and the wording closely matches the version of the Lord's Prayer that was widely used in Sweden beginning in the 16th century. And so archaeologists are super excited about this. It tells us a whole lot about Swedish immigrants in central Canada in the 1800s. Fucking cool as shit, because yes, even recent stuff is really cool archaeology. So there we go. That takes care of where were we? What confused archaeologists the most? What's going on? Why is this still being shown? This is showing the wrong thing. Did I not show my stuff there? Am I like doing all this and what the deuce? Why is this stupid thing not working well? So I didn't show my screen. Let me show my screen. What is wrong with this stupid program? It's breaking for me today. Come on. What is going on? I pay you money, Restream. You're supposed to work for me. There we go. We finally got the screen. So we've been showing these runes, right? The Lord's Prayer and stuff like that. This stuff. Was this showing, by the way, before? Please tell me. Some production hiccups on episode 0. Exactly. Did you guys see all this? This is them. These are the types of runes. Oh, my screen went away again. Why are you breaking on me? I pay you money, Restream. Damn. What is wrong with you? Well, how am I going to do my last segment if I can't share my screen? I have an idea. First of all, let's show. There we go. So this is what I was looking at. So it's a runic system developed by Johann Burius in the early 1600s. The wording closely matches the version of the prayer that was widely used in Sweden during the 16th century. Sorry, this is totally, what the fuck is going on with this program? I'm trying to stream here, restream. Yeah, I know, I saw that. So this is what these runes look like. They're a 16th century type. And there's this Swedish connection, Swedish workers in the 1800s at trading posts right nearby, including the Michipokoten post. So not far from the discovery site. And this is what this boat looks like, by the way, with the 16 people in there, which is really cool if you see what I mean. So what I'm going to have to do for the next set is I'm going to have to upload my slides, I think, because this software is being sketchy today. I don't know why it's doing this. Let's upload my slides. Where are these saved? They should be saved. All right, we're doing this. There we go. Oh, you want me to close it first? Okay. All right, we just got to give this a second to upload, and then we will have my images back for sure. In the meantime, the reality is that look, archaeologists aren't baffled. They work to figure out what kind of runes they were. They work to figure out what kind of stuff was there, and that's pretty damn cool. So today I'm drinking Doom Bar. This is a Cornish beer from nearby. It's one of my favorite, not too far away beers. I mean, I'm in Wales, but it's it's one of those Celtic type beers, and I really enjoy it. I'll be going to France next week, and I hope to do one stream from there. I'll also be doing some recording while there. I'll be on a family vacation most of the time, but I expect to do some recording with some stone tools and maybe some excavations. And I'll do a stream of the old Stone Age lithic laboratory. So that's for sure. I expect to do sometime in the next week. So keep your eye out. I need to figure out when I can do it because I'm going to be a little busy, but it should be a really good time. I'm really looking forward to it. So while we wait for this media to come in, this time we're going to get my PowerPoint back up. We're going to get it up is what we're going to do. Yeah. Okay. So where were we? Last segment. The cancer stuff. Here we go. All right. So now what we're going to be thinking about is a segment called Who Done It. So if you know the answer to this, please do not put it in the chat. But just a few days ago, some colleagues who I know, this is my type of expertise. This is about zooarchaeology, the study of ancient animal bones. They published the oldest fat factory in the world, which is really, really cool. The oldest fat factory ever existing to be able to process and render animal fat. And it's from 125,000 years ago. And we'll get into why fat factories are important. They are very important for survival of early peoples. And so, look, this is 125,000 years ago. I'm going to walk through what this says. But the question for you guys is, who did this? Is this what species of early humans from 125,000 years ago created the very first found fat factory? Because this is really cool news. Yeah, I'm also down for a half ounce of OG perp if you got some, and I'll take a half ounce of that Flint Dibble while you're on it, Roberto. I am down with the perp, the OG. Purple Haze, baby. So we have this fat factory. What's going on with this? This is the article, Large-Scale Processing of Within-Bone Nutrients, 125,000 years ago. It's a phenomenal article written by some fantastic scholars. Jeff Smith, I know him. He's a great zooarchaeologist. Will Robrooks is a great Paleolithic archaeologist. John Speth has done a lot of zooarchaeology. We're talking some serious friggin' research here in Science Advances top journal. And so, as they say, diet played a key role in human evolution, making the study of past diet and subsistence strategies a crucial research topic within paleoanthropology. Lipids So fats are a crucial resource for hunter-gatherers, especially foragers whose diet is based heavily on animal foods. So anyone know why? The reason why, and so for example, Inuit up north, they eat a lot of fat. They have these kind of fat factories as well, because if your diet is very rich in protein, if you just eat meat and you don't eat fat, so if protein is too much of the component of your diet, you can get something called protein poisoning. So you need to supplement a diet with a ton of protein with fat or vegetables or fruits or something else besides just meat. You cannot just eat meat. So this is really important. It suggests that these hunter-gatherers here were mostly hunters, and they were eating a ton of animal products, and they needed to access as much fat as possible in order to not get protein poisoning. So this is a very important Pablo, I've cut out all the clues that might reveal whether it is modern Homo sapiens, Neanderthals, Denisovans, or any other populations of early humans. So I've cut out all that stuff so that you will have to think it through from what I'm saying here. So this is the article. How did they figure out this? Shit. So who done it? Shit. It showed it there. No, I fucked up. I gave away the answer for a second. So don't go back. So at this site, they've studied nearly 10,000 animal bones, most of them from horses, from wild cattle or aurochs or deer, about 3,000 from each. And then a range of other species were present as well, bear and some other stuff, some Canis lupus, some wolf, even Panthera leo, which is lion, they found a few elements of. Very, very cool. And then when they mapped out the anatomy of these different species, god damn it, my stupid white box went away on that slide. But what's really cool is when they map out anatomy, let me make this bigger. When you map out anatomy on this kind of thing, it's mostly the bones that have a lot of marrow and fat. So the marrow or brain and stuff like that, this kind of fat in them. So it's sort of the skull, which has the brain in there. It's the long bones, which have a lot of marrow in it. And so everybody's like, so that's what most of these bones are. And so they're not bringing in, for example, many foot bones. So here we can see a heat map of the spatial distribution of bones that are throughout the site, but there's this concentration right here in the sort of upper central area. So we're looking at the A here. It says heat map of all long bones. So the 10,000 long bones that they have, they're all in one place. And this is where the fat is being processed. It's where they found, for example, fire burned rocks. And so they know that there's evidence of fire usage right in that area. And then the bones that don't have much marrow or fat, foot bones, A, there's very few of them. There's only 400 versus 9,500 long bones. And B, they're kind of all over. So they're really concentrating these long bones in one place to be able to process the fat. And at the same time, we have evidence, for example, of the kinds of marks on the bones that these early hominids would be making in order to extract the marrow from within. So they're smashing these bones to get to the marrow in order to process this material by boiling them. At least that's the assumption from the use of fire there. And what's also really interesting is that these are found kind of all over in every single season. So this is seasonal, and they're not importing whole animals because, as we saw, there's only one kind of bone there. These kind of fat bones dominate the assemblage, marrow bones and skulls with brains. And so they're specifically importing elements in order to process the fatty material here. And so if you'd not already seen the goddamn evidence, I'd be saying, put in the chat who done it, who created this fat factory. Was it Neanderthals, Homo erectus, Homo heidelbergensis, Denisovans, or Homo sapiens? If you did not see the answer, vote now. I'll give everybody some time. This is a really cool reconstruction of this, and then we'll look at where this site is because it gives away who did it. Any thoughts? I think you all saw it. God damn it. I'm not going to make that mistake in the future. Oh, so this is from 125,000 years ago, Weebaps. I'm not going to tell you where it is because that tells you which species it is. I will show you where it is on the next slide. So we're going to wait for Weebaps to vote, and for anybody else who does not know and did not see my mistake about who actually made this fat factory. So Weebaps, we're waiting on you. Just make a guess. You won't look like a fool. We have Erectus. We have Neanderthals. Somebody else has read the paper. You cheated. Other people are saying Erectus. 125,000-year-old fat factory. See, this is starting to work. If you didn't see it, Bronze Age caveman, make a vote. Which Stone Age people's population did it? We have some Heidelbergensis, some Neanderthals, and somebody, Nanya Business, just gave it away. So, all right, not everybody saw the slide because I was quick. It was the Neanderthals, and we know that because of the location. This is in Germany, just south of Berlin, and so it's at the site of Neumark Nord. And so what's really interesting is this is right at the extent of the glaciers here. So the maximum of the Salian ice extent, which I think is really interesting because this would have been obviously an area where foraging for plants would have been nearly impossible. And so it's just like the modern Inuit today in Alaska. They mostly hunted animals and marine mammals there. Here it was land mammals. And in order to survive without getting protein poisoning and dying, they developed this kind of fat factory 125,000 years ago to where they specifically brought in not whole animals, but the marrow long bones. And then they broke them down. They cracked them open. We have the marks of them cracking them open. They're all concentrated in one area where we have the fire going on. And they created a kind of fat factory like this to extract all the fat. No, it's okay. None of your business. You almost got a job in Newmark once. That's cool, Sarah. So yeah, so this is actually really cool, and this will be a recurring segment as well. So the idea here is that about it once a week, I might skip some Sundays, but I'll try to make sure we iron out some of these technical issues. I don't know why the screen share didn't work. This is the first time I've had this problem with Restream. But it is what it is. But about once a week, Sundays, 7 p.m. UK, 2 p.m. Eastern, I'm hoping to do a segment like this, Old News with Flint Dibble, for about an hour. And I want to have a range of different themes. So, for example, and I won't do them all every week. So I'd like to have like 12 to 15 different themes where I can choose 4 or 5 of them to focus on each week. And that way I can get news stories and archaeology news and present them in these kind of fun ways. So one of them will be fake lying archaeology news. Flan, what confused archaeologists? So we'll look at these stupid headlines and then delve into the expertise the archaeologists actually applied to it. Who done it? There's a lot of fun who done it ones for who built this, who did that, who made that artifact, who made that city. There's lots of cool ones here. The science of archaeology, which I hope can get into some modern methods, illustrating history, how archaeology can tell us reveal things about ancient art or textual sources that the art and textual sources do not reveal. We'll do some deep dives into specific articles, and I hope we can have some guests on for like 5 to 10 minutes to be able to do a bit of a deep dive into a specific case study that's really cool. Misleading memes, history rewritten, and then, of course, where would we be if we didn't do This Week with Flint Dibble? Of course, I didn't upload this video, did I? 1 second. You're going to wait for me while I upload the one stream I did this week. And then you can watch it. But so put in the chat while we wait for this video some other themes that you guys think would be interesting for me to rotate around. I'm going to keep brainstorming on it. We're going to have little sort of fun segments for each of them, some visuals, some graphics, some music, and then we'll be able to delve into, I hope, about five or so stories each week from the world of archaeology, history, anthropology, and related subjects, paleontology, and whatnot. And so that's the kind of idea. And I hope that you guys are all excited. This is what I hope we can debut. Probably the last Sunday of this month will be the very first one of these. Is my sort of aspirations here. So what would that be? That would be That would probably be July 27th. Maybe if we get our shit together, we'll do July 20th in 2 weeks. Maybe if we're really lazy and we're behind schedule, we'll have to do the first Sunday in August. I was hoping to actually do it today, but I realized I want to have proper graphics. I want to have a trailer. I want to make this kind of pop and be a successful series. So I want to make sure that we have all of our stuff together. And today is just kind of an informal episode 0. If you guys have any thoughts about themes, put them in the chat right now. But this week with Flint Dibble, I will show a little clip from the live stream you might have missed. Oh, no, it's still processing. 2 seconds, 2 seconds. But yeah, so what I'll try to do is review also what we did on the channel over the previous week in case you missed some of my live streams. One of the things that I've learned from people mentioning this is some of you might not know that I have to be able to share my screen. You stupid thing. Let's see if it'll let me share my screen. Will you let me share my screen? No, you won't. God, this is annoying. This is so annoying. Here we go. No, you stupid. There we go. Okay, so there's a live tab right here where actually these days I'm doing a lot of live streaming. So if you've not visited the live tab of my channel, you're missing a lot of what's on here. Now you're all watching live, so I'm assuming I'm telling the wrong people. I'll be making a post later on, but I have a lot of different fantastic interviews and different live streams in here. And I've noticed that some of my biggest fans did not realize to go to my live tab to get actually a lot of my awesome content. It's also on Spotify, as we mentioned. Ancient misinformation. Ooh, I like that one, Ninhotep. I will add that one. Yeah. Art. Sabine, we need to make something a little more. What about art? We need something. I'll think about it. Yeah. What's that tool, or wags that tool, as you put in there, Sarah? I like that. Yeah, that's a good one. What is this that we're looking at? But in terms of archaeology on Flint Dibble this week, if you did not see my conversation with Mr. Beat on democracy, here's a short clip from it.
I think that in many ways, the United States is currently an oligarchy that you can spend as much money as you want if you want to get somebody elected that will do your bidding. You can bribe them very easily. Bribes are legal. Corruption is legal in many ways. And so that's what they do to get, I think that we like to think that, oh, well, we have the First Amendment, we have freedom of speech, and so you can expose all of this. But a lot of people are not paying attention to this type of thing. And so I think democracy only works if you have an informed society. And clearly we are lacking with that in many ways. I'm not just talking about most people don't really know what's going on, and that it's not their fault. Like we're just trying to survive. Everybody's busy trying to survive. So I do think we're already there. I think we say we're a democracy, but we're barely a democracy. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not sure if information is necessary for a democracy, because people are just voting based off of whatever information they have anyway. I mean, the start of the Athens invaded Sicily. That's what started the second half of the Peloponnesian War, right? And this was based off of a complete fake news campaign where the citizenships did not have the proper information. So there was this city-state of Segesta in Sicily that was like, we don't like Syracuse. Athens, can you please come and help us invade them? You have a powerful army and navy, all this kind of jazz. And the Athenians are like, I don't know, let's send some envoys over there to scope out the situation, right? So the envoys get there, and the Segestans decide to trick them. So part of the goal of the envoys is to determine, can the Segestans give us enough money to fund this campaign? And so what the Segestans do is they grab all of the silver and gold in the city, and they move it from house to house. Wherever the envoys are having dinner, they have all that silver and gold in that house, so they appear more wealthy than they are. The envoys return, and there's this big assembly meeting. They're like, do we go to war with Syracuse and whatnot? And one of the big questions is, are we going to get paid properly so that we can fund this? And the envoys are like, yeah, we're going to get paid. They have all this gold and silver. Turns out it was all just fake news. It was all just a disinformation campaign to be able to subvert democracy, if you will. Okay. So if you missed my conversation with Mr. Beat, be sure to go check it out under the live tab, which, as I mentioned, is filled with all kinds of good stuff. And I even saw some people in the chat that said, "Oh, wow, I got to think to go there." Because, yes, all my live streams are recorded there. They're also up on Spotify. So you can go to Spotify or to the live tab and you can catch the recordings if you miss them. And I highly recommend people to do that if you enjoy my content. I tried to capture as many of the comments in the chat. You all had a lot of really good ones. So I'll see which ones I can turn in. Some of them were sort of more like topics. I'm looking more for themes. So if I didn't choose some of yours, don't worry. So I mean, I want stuff that's sort of like Mesoamerican archaeology. Great, that's great, but I'd rather fit into a broader theme, which it can include Mesoamerican archaeology, if that makes sense. But I did write down as many of them as I could, and I think all of them. And let me brainstorm and think through how to fit them in and which ones could work. But either way, this is the plan for one component of the future of this channel is old news with Flint Dibble. So expect it to start popping up on a sort of mostly weekly basis, though I'm sure I'll have to occasionally miss 1 week, either because I'm too busy or I have something going on that Sunday. And it should always be at 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. UK, which is where I'm based. To try to catch both a European and an American audience is kind of the goal. I know everybody in East Asia and Australia is upset, but it will be recorded and it will be available under the live tab or on Spotify. So, I guess last thing we got is I'll stick around for about 15-20 minutes. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. And make sure you leave a like and a comment to feed the algorithm machine here, because we want to make sure that this stuff gets seen more widely. I have grown this channel in a great way. You all have helped me grow this. So continue to help me grow this channel so that I can keep doing this. I am unfortunately mostly stuck here all summer. So instead of going and excavating, which I should be doing, I can't fly right now. So instead of excavating, which I should be doing, I am stuck here. So I intend to do as much YouTubing as I can over the summer and keep growing this channel. And the more that the more support I get from everybody and the more views we get, the more incentive I have to do this. I think that people enjoy my archaeology communication. I enjoy doing archaeology communication. I enjoy sharing my experience and expertise with everybody that we can. So I think that that's important. That's a good first question, Peter. So let's pull some questions up. But yeah, make sure to leave some likes and some comments when it's done. Comment after the live stream is over. YouTube ranks those comments in a big way. It's really important so that it gets shown. Let's see. So what do I call a group of archaeologists? Oh, this is a big question that a lot of people have debated online. I'd call it probably a trench of archaeologists. I've seen other ones, but like a bucket of archaeologists or things like that. But I think a trench rolls off well. But yeah, that's a good question. Other people said a drunk of archaeologists. There's different answers. Let's see. Sarah CA, when did people start having different breeds of domestic animals? Immediately upon domestication. So as soon as sheep, goat, pig, and cattle were domesticated around the same time in Southwest Asia. And so they spread from there, east, west, north, and south. And so there was a wide range of different breeds of domestic animals at the exact same time. Something I hope to do a future video on is domestication and probably some interviews. This is closely related to my own research in my own field, so I know a lot of people working on this topic. Let's see. How do you properly dabble outside your field of expertise? Defer to those experts is the proper way. Make sure that you read and defer primarily, because if it's outside of your own expertise, you oftentimes don't have the larger context with which to judge different claims. And so you're going to have to some degree, defer to experts until you get to the point where you are also an expert, which can happen. I have several different expertises as an archaeologist. I'm a zooarchaeologist who studies animal remains. I'm also an expert in excavations. I've directed field excavation projects. I have dabbled in plant remains, for example. I've collected seeds. I've co-authored with people on seeds. So I wouldn't say I'm as expertised in seeds as an archaeobotanist, but I'd be the second tier right below that. I also have a lot of expertise in sort of, I am an expert in Greek archaeology and ancient Greek history. And so when it comes to topics of ancient Greek history and Greek archaeology, I'm also an expertise. However, when it comes to something even related like Roman archaeology, I have the second tier level where I've excavated on Roman sites. I've led tours and I've taught classes on Roman archaeology. And I've even published a few papers on Roman archaeology, but it is not my primary expertise. So I'd say like I'm an expert, but I'm at that second level where I mostly have to defer to my colleagues. However, I still have the ability, obviously, to speak confidently about it in public, as I do on most topics of archaeology, just because I have a wide breadth of experience. But in general, if it's outside of my specific top level expertises, so my top level expertises for me would be animal bones, so zooarchaeology, and that includes isotopes and certain aspects of DNA and other biomolecular fields. So environmental archaeology more broadly, and then ancient Greek archaeology and Mediterranean archaeology more broadly, and then field methods. So excavations and how sites form and how they get preserved and how we sample them. Those are my three primary expertises, let's say. And once I start moving beyond those, then I start having to defer more and more to other experts. And I need to mostly repeat what they are saying because I don't have the context to judge what is right or wrong. I do peer review fairly widely. Being an expert, I'm an expert in archaeology. I'm an archaeologist. And so I have the ability to comment on some of this stuff, but I still typically defer to experts in most other subfields. When it comes even beyond into fields like history or art history or even further afield, I mean, paleontology, anthropology, or medicine, like modern medicine, then I'm fully deferring to the consensus because I'm not an expert and I don't have the ability and the context to be able to judge anything. I defer to the consensus because these are the people that have the training, the experience, the expertise, and the publications and whatnot to be able to speak confidently, not me. An argument. Yes, a group of archaeologists is an argument. That is a good answer. I think I've heard that one before. Have any other fat factories of the same age or older been found? No, Michael. This is the oldest fat factory that I know of that's been found, at least that's been published. And that's also the claims of this, is that it's older than those done by anatomically modern Homo sapiens. Stuart, you missed the beginning part. I just got the news that not all, but much of the cancer within me has disappeared since my first scan that showed it was back. The treatment is going very well, though the side effects have ramped up, which is a little annoying. Which is also the next question. The side effects, yeah. Look, immunotherapy, which is what I'm on, it's a form of immunotherapy. It's called immune checkpoint inhibitors. They cause all sorts of random side effects. And in the last month, I've had like 15 different kinds of side effects as my immune system goes crazy. I also have an autoimmune disease, and that's going crazy. But they're now giving me some medicine to deal with the side effects so that I can stay on the material. Yes, my video debunking Homo naledi, that is hopefully going to be the next new video to be published. I expect in the next 2 weeks is my hope. So don't hold me to it, but I think in about 2 weeks, it should be done. It's coming along. It's in great shape. The interviews are done. Research is done. I need to do a few more recordings and then edit it all together. This is a good question. Will we have more Civ streams? I hope to do more Civ streams. I didn't really get into Civ 7. I need to see if now the updates have improved it. It just didn't jive with me for some reason. I'm a huge fan of Civ. I've played since Civ 1. And Civ 5 is my favorite. So maybe I'll just jump back in with Civ 5 and play and chat while I do it. Let me think on it. I think it would be something fun to do. It would have to be after I get back from my trip, but it could be like kind of like a low-key way to just chat and play games about history and stuff like that. Do I watch the show QI? So that's quite interesting, I think, since I'm in the UK. No, I've not really seen it too regularly. I also don't really watch much TV. I mostly watch movies. Just how I am. Do I like Indiana Jones? When he was a kid, he made me think history was cool. Yeah, I enjoy watching Indiana Jones. As a kid, I enjoyed it. I now can look at some of the older movies and see the problems with them. The Temple of Doom has just horrible fucking racism in it. And it's appalling, in fact, in that movie. And so, but look, that's the truth of a lot of entertainment, particularly from that period. It's also true of the period they were representing. And so I'm hopeful that the franchise will move forward and be both entertaining and ethical in their presentation of archaeology. We have 12 likes and like 176 people watching. Hit the fucking like button. If you're not liking this, why are you watching? Hit the like button so other people see it. Do it. How did Neanderthals go extinct? So Neanderthals went extinct. It's a good question. The current line of thinking is maybe we're thinking about this wrong. Neanderthals probably didn't go extinct. All humans alive have part of Neanderthal DNA in them. Whether you're from Europe, Asia, North America, South America, Africa, or Australia, you have a small percentage of your genome, and it varies from different population to population. But every single human alive has a small bit of Neanderthal genome in them. And so it seems more likely that humans probably absorbed the Neanderthal population into them, but humans were much more populous and numerous. And so that genome got very diluted into the anatomically modern human population. Same thing with Denisovans. So I think these ideas of extinction and not are troublesome, but it does seem like the population of pure Neanderthals, they went extinct kind of during the glacial maximum. So certainly climate change had something to do with it. The areas they ranged in got extremely bitter cold, and that was a problem. If there was one archaeological site I should say should be a wonder of the world, well, so these wonders of the worlds are actually all ancient designations. We don't really call them that today. I'd say every single UNESCO World Heritage Site is a wonder of the world. Is probably how I would put it. That's the modern designation, and there's hundreds, maybe thousands of them, and they are all absolutely wondrous. Because to limit ourselves to the 7 wonders of the world, that list was put together thousands of years ago by people who only had knowledge of a small area of the world. And so I think that we need to go to the UNESCO World Heritage List. I think that list gives it's not fully complete. There's still archaeological sites being added to it, but it gives a really good cross section of archaeology around the world and just how wondrous it is. Let's see. Yes, I am familiar with traditional ecological knowledge. I hope we can have some people on. I don't do it too much, but I hope we can have some people on that can discuss it later. What are the characteristics of a civilization? Pablo, I'd suggest going back to my Joe Rogan conversation where I actually make the point that archaeologists today don't use the term civilization because civilization has too many different definitions. It's too broad, and too often it's used to contrast with civilized versus uncivilized people. So it just creates this kind of pejorative, nasty way of othering cultures or societies that are not as advanced or complex or whatever. And so instead, we usually talk in terms of societies and cultures today. We don't usually use the term civilization in most modern scholarship. There are very few people that still use that term because it means different things to different people. So the reason I wouldn't say Göbekli Tepe is not considered a civilization, the difference is that Göbekli Tepe was built by hunter-gatherers. And many people do not consider hunter-gatherers to be civilized. I find that to be stupid. Hunter-gatherers are complex, smart people like you and me, and they were capable of building Göbekli Tepe. How do we know that it was built by hunter-gatherers? Because hunting and gathering is how you get your food, and the food that the people at Göbekli Tepe ate was all wild plants and animals, so they were hunter-gatherers, not farmers. No, I was talking about that inscription, Sarlux. I'm not going to struggle to show my screen again, but I can put the link in the chat again. Is what I can do. So what I was talking about was this right here. That is the link for what is going on that I was talking about in Canada about these pretty cool runes from a couple hundred years ago. Um, do 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 do. I am winding down, I think. Let me see. This is a good one. Any books you would recommend for someone to get into archaeology? To be honest and frank, I mean, there's some good books written for the public, but if you really want to get into archaeology, I would suggest a textbook. Colin Renfrew and Paul Bond's Archaeology Essentials, Methods, and Theories is the standard textbook. So that would be, if you want to get into archaeology and understand how archaeologists think, that would be what I'd go for. If you want to go for a popular book that talks about a theme within archaeology, well, then there's thousands of really good ones. You could start with The Dawn of Everything. That's a recently popular one by Wengrow and Graeber, stuff like that. Thoughts on the stoned ape theory? I talked about this a little bit in my interview with Manvir Singh. There's no good evidence. There's no good evidence at all that narcotics and the consumption of mind-altering substances have anything to do with human evolution. Now, did people consume mind-altering substances going back thousands and thousands of years? Without a fucking doubt. Do we have any evidence that that's linked to human evolution the way the stoned ape theory works? No, not at fucking all. So it's right now just pure speculation. Becca, I don't know how to do that. I do not know how to add a Q&A tab to my live streams. I can think about it, but I don't know how. I don't think YouTube supports that as far as I know. Even the times I've been on other people's streams, I don't. To be honest, the easiest way for me to see a question in the live stream is to shoot me a super thanks or a super chat, because that shows up in a different color and I'm going to see it very clearly. It also supports the channel and supports me, which is very nice of you if you do that. Let's see. I am in the UK, both working and living. Yes, I teach at Cardiff University, or I did until recently, and I expect to have a position at Cardiff University next academic year as well. Still working on what it will be, because there's been lots of cuts here, but I'm very confident that I'll have some sort of position here at Cardiff University, and I have another remote job lined up as well. So yes, I'm working and living legally in the UK. Let's see. I'm just going to answer a couple more. Are there any super thanks here? Any super chats? There's a lot of questions here, isn't there? I think I'm going to probably call it. I think this has gone on for what, an hour and a half nearly. I want to thank everybody for coming by. I want to thank everybody for liking and hopefully leaving a comment afterwards. And I want to point out, watch out for Old News with Flint Dibble. We're going to try to make this into a higher quality production for those live streams, to make them popular and to supercharge this channel a little bit. So if you have any ideas about Old News with Flint Dibble for thematic themes that we could go sort of every other week or every few weeks, we'll try to rotate through different themes to keep it lively. Leave a comment with some suggestions below. If you made one in the chat and you're worried I missed it, make it as a comment below. Somebody asked what I'm drinking. I am drinking Doom Bar, which is a Cornish amber ale. It's one of my favorite ales from the UK. Where did I put any? I didn't. First of all, I don't think that this is anti-Semitic, and well, if you're saying it's Jewish, all right, Larry. It's not Jewish at all to put ads in your live stream. Lots of people put ads in their fucking live stream. What the fuck? Are you a Nazi, man? So, all right, that was not a fun way to end. Becca, thank you. This is always so fun. Thank you all. And I don't put ads in my live stream. I put an ad in for my own supporters. Jesus. So thank you all. I'm sorry to end it with that grumpiness. I really appreciate it. Add a like, add a comment, do some cool stuff. And you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. And I'll see you all soon. I hope to try to do a live stream from France sometime in the next week. That is my goal. And we'll probably release a video from an old live stream from a long time ago. In the meantime, to keep the channel going, and then expect more live streams and more videos once we get back in a little over a week. Just because, yeah, I plan on keeping to do this. I'm enjoying doing this YouTube. I think a lot of you enjoy this, and let's keep making archaeology awesome. So, we have to end with our theme song, and thanks to all the patrons. I've had a lot of new patrons and members. I'm sorry, we need to update this list. We will update this list for the next live stream once we get back from the trip. So if you're not on here, you'll be on here soon. I really appreciate all the support that I've gotten, both monetarily and through comments and likes. All this stuff helps keep me going. So let's keep this going. Let's build this. Onwards and upwards, as I like to say. And love and archaeology to you all.
Rhymes and riddles, tickle, tickle, giggles, squiggle, jiggle.